I had the pleasure of nominating 4 award recipients today, so let's get going. Our first Peer Provider Award recipient is Children's Service of Roxbury from Roxbury. And you all were nominated by Justice Resource Institute. Founded as United Homes for Children in 1975 by noted Black minister Reverend Richardson, Children's Services of Roxbury's mission is to provide high-quality services to economically disadvantaged children, youth, families, and individuals, thereby promoting strengthening family life and individual growth. And since its founding, Children's Services of Roxbury has remained an agency that is both led and staffed by people of color. It was important for them at their founding, and it remains important to them in this day. In order for communities to be served effectively, there must be diversity in organizations, both at the staff and at the leadership levels, and I think that is so important. Children's Services of Roxbury is at the leading edge of the pursuit of social justice in our community. Their Peace Sign project, you may be familiar with it, it's now in its 2nd year, and it's aiming to raise the agency's profile, unite the community with the message of hope, while generating revenue for services that are not adequately funded, and ensure that Boston is reminded that the Boston Common is there for all residents, including people who have historically been marginalized. Let's clap for that. CSR is a phenomenal partner to its nominator, Justice Resource Institute, and many others. Quote, they're always open to collaboration. That's according to JRI's CEO, Andy Pond. Sandra McCroom, CEO of Children's Services of Roxbury, has the full array of skills needed for leadership of a large nonprofit. Pond notes, her commitment to her community is the equal of anyone in our field. She speaks her mind, and she also listens to others in a way that fosters communication and growth. I admire her greatly and have benefited from her wisdom and her experience. I now invite Sandra McCroom, President and CEO, to join me center stage. Now we're going to put her in the hot seat a little bit. Sandra, congratulations. We mentioned the Peace Sign Project, and those of you who aren't familiar, what they're trying to do is break the Guinness Book of World Record for creating the world's largest peace sign on Boston Common. But we all know that it's much more about that. Talk to us about this project and why it's so near and dear to your heart.
Well, I came up with the idea of this project because I really wanted to celebrate the resiliency of the families that we all serve. I think it is vitally important that when you're working with people who have been disenfranchised and marginalized, that they know that, well, let me just say, they have a peace of mind that a lot of people don't understand. Because you look at their lives and you think, whoa, how could they be handling the pressure of their life? And we, those of us who work with all of our families, we know the hope and resiliency that they carry despite their immediate circumstance. And I really wanted to raise the profile of the strength of the families. I also wanted to raise the profile, obviously, of our agency, but how community can come together and really understand what it means to have peace of mind.
And how have you seen the community come together through this project?
Well, first of all, I really, really sincerely want to thank Andy Pond for nominating me. He and I have been friends for many years, and we have come together. So in many circles, they would say JRI and CSR are, you know, mortal enemies. You know, because we fight for the same contracts as we all do. And Andy and I have worked together, the home, and so many others, communities for people, all of us have come together to say this is important. So the Guinness record, it'll be fun. And the day is fun. I hope all of you come out. In fact, if all of you brought 20 people, we'd make the record, so come on out.
Give us the date. Shameless plug here. Give us the date, right?
Shameless plug. On October 20th. But we came together because the message is so important. The visual is nice. the record is fun, but this idea of hope and resiliency is most important.
As I said earlier, the work that you all are doing has never been more important, and we're so grateful for you. I do have one other question before you leave. I mentioned that you all continue to be an agency both led and staffed by people of color, and you also are participating in the race and diversity inclusion efforts as co-chair of the Council's committee on this issue. So share with us just how critical it is for organizations across the Commonwealth to include this in their mission, because it's so important.
Well, I think, before I came to Children's Services, I worked in the Patrick administration, and I saw Governor Patrick's leadership around diversity and inclusion and really recognizing people of color that have the talent and the skills to hold high-level positions. And I've been honored to have this role as president and CEO. And I was at a hearing not long ago, and I made a statement that when the country sneezes, communities of color, black and brown people, get pneumonia. And I think it's true. It manifests itself in the institutional racism that I think exists in ways, and when you have an agency like ours who has been able to survive for some 50 years with people of color, both on the board and running the agency, we dispel those myths. And I love working with my colleagues at the Providers Council to raise the awareness of the weight of racism and how it plays out in everyday life. And that's, I think, something that is important to have a dialogue about, especially in this day and time.
Sandra, you are an incredible leader. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for all you're doing for our community. Congratulations. Really, really appreciate it. Take care.